Welcome everybody to another episode of Into the Stratusphere. I'm your girl Cindy G here, and we're on episode 10. Oh my god. I feel like time has flown by really quick because I feel like I just started like 2 months ago and now we're here. Like, if it wasn't for you guys, for your love and support to keeping up with this show, like, none of it would have happened. Like, I don't know. It's just mind-boggling, and I'm, like, in loss for words. Like, episode 10. Like, wow. So, just wanted to give a shout-out to Philip for giving me this incredible opportunity to have my own show and to become the newest member of the Bulletcast team. Wanted to say is a big thank you. Also want to give a shout out to another fellow Bulletcast member, Brandon Tanguma. I listened to like their review of WWE and AEW, and I know Brandon did mention like my show in the past regarding New Japan Pro Wrestling coverage and whatnot. So even though we have not met in person, we've seen each other around APW shows, but we haven't even met or worked together yet. But you never know what to expect, so hopefully we get to work together very soon. Also want to give a shout out to In the Click. Of course, I'm Baby Huey. Actually plug in like my show on the In the Click Instagram stories, and I know he did promote this show during him, Richard, and Tommy's prediction Instagram live on the Indie Click Instagram page for the NXT TakeOver 31 video. So just wanted to thank them. Also want to thank like my fellow NoDQ.com brethren, my dear friend Noah Foster, to be my first ever guest for this show, which he's actually going to be coming back next week to help me cover like, you know, just to prepare for Bound for Glory, like predictions and the usual recap. And also, one last thing, I want to thank you guys, the Bulletcast Nation. You guys has been very supportive since I debut, and it's very incredible, especially like I got like a couple followers here and there, and you guys has been amazing. I know I have some people that follow me prior to this, like brothers on NoDQ.com or on different social media. It really means a lot to me. So you guys are awesome. You guys rock. So anyway, you guys, so with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off for this episode. Episode 10, The Collective Thoughts. So for today, we're going to be covering news from like this week in wrestling, especially a bigger newsworthy event from the aftermath of GCW's The Collective. Also, results from the GCW Collective shows. I only watch 3 shows instead of like the bunch of shows they run from October 9th to October 11th. So it would be easier so I can give you guys my thoughts and opinion and give you guys the results instead of like running over like the whole list of like independent wrestling shows. So make it much easier, and especially for time-wise too. And then we'll have recap from last week New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, like the Lions Break Crown finale, and the recent episode of the New Japan Strong kicking off the New Japan Never tour, and then the usual recap for Impact Wrestling. So yeah, y'all. So before we get into all that, if you guys already know that I started doing the coverage for the New Japan G1 Climax A Block and B Block finale, it's now going to be on Instagram TV because of like the time for this. By the time of the recording of this podcast, I know the finale for the B block has already been aired and this podcast has already been like posted. So if you guys want to check out my brief thoughts and opinion, me and Noah Foster, we went on Instagram Live on my personal Instagram page to give our opinions. And we will be going to full depth of the G1 Climax finale on my Instagram page as well. So you guys can follow me on there and on Twitter and my YouTube channel at simply_C_OK. That's SIMPLY_C_OK. Anyway, so let's go ahead and kick off with the news. Just wanted to give you guys a trigger warning because some of these news headlines will be a sensitive material, especially some about mental health and also the recent speaking out movement. So let's go ahead and kick things off. So starting off with a very sad news, we have like not just one but two passings of the European independent wrestling scene, of course. So on October 14th, UK independent wrestler Ryan Smiles, who wrestled for Rev Pro, OTT, Lucha Forever, and Attack Wrestler, has tragically passed away at the age of 30. So according to UK wrestler Damien No Fun Done McCowan, made the announcement on the Facebook page saying it is with great sadness that I have to inform everyone that Ryan Smiles passed away yesterday after losing his battle with mental health. This is truly terrible loss of a larger-than-life character who brightened every room he was in with his passion, energy, and humor. Please respect the privacy of Alice, which is his wife, and her family at this time. Yeah, this is really sad. Honestly, I'm not too familiar who Ryan Smiles is, but from what I've read, that he was a bigger deal in the UK scene. And oddly enough, he was Will Ospreay's former tag team partner, which it actually caused a lot of controversy since then, which I'm not going to get into like too much detail. It's just, you could check it out on social media. But this is solely based on someone who recently passed away from someone who battled, mental health. And it's really tough. As someone that battles mental health with anxiety and depression, it's not that easy, and it's really, really sad that Ryan Smiles went on to this really tragic route, and it's a lot of devastation going on in the European independent wrestling scene and pretty much all over the world. I know there's a lot of tributes from Sasha Moth Martina to Charlie Evans, even Mia Yim, Dakota Kai, and others did pay a tribute on their social media posts of Ryan Smiles, of how he is an incredible person, a very talented wrestler. So my heart and my condolences goes out to his wife, Alice, and their friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, and everyone that knew Ryan Smiles. And I just wanted to say this, you guys. You guys are not alone. If you guys are battling with mental health, if you guys are going through so much, check out numerous of resources online. They will definitely help you. Or reach out to someone you're comfortable talking to, because don't ever feel that you're a burden. Don't ever feel like it's your fault that you have this demon inside. All of us has been struggling in every aspects of life. So don't ever, be afraid that you're a negative influence. You guys can do it. And remember, you guys are not alone with this. We're all in this together, no matter what the circumstances is. So I just wanted to give you guys, the Bulletcast Nation, know. However, if you guys are struggling for it, feel free to DM me, like on Instagram or on Twitter, and I'm here to help you, no matter what, especially coming from yours truly, who battle with mental health. So just wanted to let everybody know. Anyway, moving on, another sudden passing. So WXW, which is an independent wrestling based out of Germany, broke a really sad news that October 15, German independent wrestler Carsten Beck has passed away after a year's battle from brain cancer. And, it is really sad that a lot of people in the European scene have been like paying tribute to Carsten Beck. And I know that ZZW actually posted their tweet of how devastated they heard the news of his passing. I mean, especially from someone who is in his mid-30s that lost like an incredible battle. He actually put up a huge fight to just make sure that he can beat this illness, and unfortunately it turned to the worst as well. So my heart, my prayers, and my condolences goes out to the friends, family, loved ones, and fans of Carson Beck. May he rest in peace. And on the last sad news, so as you guys know that prior to the GCW Collective event that took place, there has been a news from GCW Collective, like for Effie's Big Gay Brunch, that because of family emergency, Priscilla Kelly has to be pulled out of the event for the Effie's Big Gay Brunch and the Shimmer Volume 118 show. And unfortunately, the family emergency turns out that Priscilla Kelly has lost her grandfather due to a medical issues. So my heart and my prayer goes out to Priscilla Kelly and the rest of Priscilla Kelly's family for the recent passing of her grandfather. May he rest in peace, and again, may rest in peace to Carson Beck and Ryan Smiles. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and move on to from the sadness of the news. Let's go ahead and start with the positive. All right. So, GCW had their show on October 9th to October 11th. The Collective that took place at the Marin County Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana. You guys, like, who would have thought that, like, they're supposed to have their show, like, on WrestleMania weekend, but then all of a sudden, we're in a pandemic, everything had to shut down, including the shows itself, too. So, what better way that, like, GCW made the comeback since they put out their first show, like, back in August, like, during the pandemic, is put the Collective. However, I do have some concerns, like, regarding with the venue. So when I saw the picture of the venue, I'm glad that it's like spread out to certain chairs, but it was in the indoor area, which that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because normally with GCW, they normally run their shows outdoors during the pandemic. But then when you have indoors, it's kind of like a close contact when it comes to the virus itself, too. So I did watch only 3 shows, and I saw a couple pictures on Twitter. And I must say, I'm pretty impressed, like, how the turnout is with, like, the crowd. I know they did the whole 6 feet apart in the bleacher seats and also on the floor seats. And how everybody is wearing their mask or any face protective covering and making sure everybody is okay, too. Now, I know there has been a lot of controversy going on with the aftermath. But let's go ahead and start off with the positive before we're going to get into the negative, the aftermath from GCW, and then the results, and give my thoughts of the show. So on Saturday, October 10th, GCW has been awarded a proclamation from the City Council of Indianapolis, Minnesota. That is right. They presented a proclamation to celebrate GCW The Collective and declaring October 9th to October 11th as Indie, short for Indianapolis, Indie Wrestling Weekend, you guys. So that was a big deal for not just like independent wrestling, but like pro wrestling world altogether too. And it's something that, like, everybody is very, 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 like, let's just say over the moon. Like, when I saw the tweets that GCW posted, I could have been more happy and proud because, as you guys know, I'm a huge supporter of independent wrestling since 2017, going into my first ever independent wrestling shows. And, like, having like this energy and crowd. So with that proclamation, it actually sends a positive message that, like, you know, independent wrestling, no matter what outcome is, this is how it changed out. But it was a really positive moment. So that's what the name Game Changer Wrestling is all about. So wanted to congratulate GCW, including Brett Lauderdale, for this proclamation. It's a big deal. So anyway, you guys. So, let's go ahead and go with the negative. And I really don't want to be a negative Nancy. It's the aftermath of the news. What happened in GCW presents The Collective show. So it turns out that there's a seamstress who designs different wrestling's ring gear. Her name is Tina Louise. She posted a tweet on Saturday, October 10th, saying that she was a victim of a sexual harassment by one of the wrestlers. She did not disclose the name, but she did express her concerns and how much she is very uncomfortable, that she was like pretty traumatized about it. So I know a couple of the wrestlers and promote and like some staff like working at the show making sure she is okay. So until on Tuesday, October 14th, she released a statement that is a bombshell that the person that sexually harassed her was none other than Logan Stunt, who is the brother of current AEW superstar Marco Stunt. And there has been a lot of receipts of like screenshot of their messages exchange and her story to recount. It was really, really messed up to the core because we just had this speaking out movement back in June, and now it's still continuing on, especially for one of the biggest event ever. You know, and I wanted to give props to Tina Louise, who just actually speaking out about, what happened during the event, because I know she had, no, it's really hard on her to like express her emotion and feelings and whatnot. And also there's another accusation going on, especially on the DM. So another Twitter user named Melody, who's a friend of Tina Louise, which she got the permission from her. Unfortunately, Brian Pillman Jr. Did defend Logan Stunt 100%, and they're again screenshots of like their messages back and forth, and it's really sad, you guys. Like even though you're friends with someone who actually do the wrong, you do not like support them, not support them, but like back them up, because what this person did is really messed up to the core. And like if someone done this messed up shit that like they want me to defend them for the action, absolutely not, because it's their fault and it's their accountability to do so. So yeah, it's really sad. And now it's like a couple of the independent wrestling company, from Glory Pro to Black Label Pro, AIW, and so on and so forth, they decided that they're no longer gonna book Logan Stunt. So yeah, that's really sad for this whole behavior itself, and especially like how it's going affected by, what's been happening. So it's a really damn shame, and I'm very disappointed, not just Logan Stunt, but Brian Pillman Jr. as well. And lastly, all the sad news about it. So it has been confirmed throughout different wrestling news outlet that there has been several people got tested positive for COVID-19 after the Collective event. So some of the fans, including the talents, that has been tested positive. So San Luis Anarchy Pro, which is a wrestling company based out of Alton, Illinois, did first send out a tweet saying that this afternoon I learned of a positive COVID-19 test from someone that a great deal of our roster was around this past weekend. Due to that, we will be doing the responsible thing and be postponed Friday event. We're also unfortunately be ending the Spirit of Spalding. So that was the first tweet sent out, and the first ever independent wrestler that actually speaking out about he'd been tested positive was actually Dan the Dad, and it's sad. He actually released a statement saying that, he's still battling COVID, but he's doing better, and he decided to pull out of any independent wrestling booking for the remainder of 2020, just to be more cautious and more responsible. Yeah, you guys, this is really serious. Like, I know GCW is now facing backlash from everyone about this whole, like, testing positive for COVID, especially for some of the talents as well. And it has been confirmed that not just Dan the Dad, but AC Mack and Cabana Man Dan has been tested positive for COVID. And then some of the other wrestlers are like unsure if they caught it or not. They haven't even waited their test result yet. Especially Danhausen. He was supposed to be going to the ROH taping this week, but he hasn't received the test results, so he has to be immediately sent back home. So he won't be participating in the ROH tapings. And it's really a damn shame, you guys. Like, I knew like having the show indoors would be setting a consequences because like the virus is still there. We're still in a pandemic. You never know if it's gonna sneak in and just affect one another. It's so sad to say at least. Like with this news has been broken, some of the independent wrestling companies decided to cancel the remainder of the event. For example, Alpha One Wrestling is supposed to be having their event like this upcoming week, but unfortunately, because of what happened, they have no choice just to cancel the event for the remainder of 2020, and that is really devastating, including other independent wrestling companies too. It's better just to be safe and being sorry for that too. I mean, I get it. We all miss independent wrestling, but at the same time, our health matters, and we have to be more cautious within ourselves or someone that you're currently living with as well. I know GCW is doing their show, well, on Saturday. Of course, will be today by the time of the recording of the podcast. Well, of course, will be on Saturday. They're doing their show in Silverado, California, in SoCal. So it seems to be like kind of like a dangerous situation, you know, and I don't know how it's going to be affected by, you know, with everything going on. So all I can say, you guys, is please continue on wearing your face mask or any type of protective face covering. And I say it hundreds of times, and I'll say it again. No excuses, you guys. We're still in a pandemic. Don't know if the virus is going to be lingering to it. So the face mask is the only protection we got to do. And also washing your hands. And if you couldn't get into like a sink and soap, just use a hand sanitizer and make sure to practice social distancing. I know this is all the best they can do to help out this situation, but it's kind of like a very scary situation to say at least, especially we're in the middle of the pandemic. So yeah, it's really much a very hard subject to swallow alike, but anyway, guys, so that is it for what is going on in the news of wrestling, especially for the event for GCW The Collective. So let's go ahead and go on to the results of the shows that I actually watched from The Collective. But before I get into all that, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Starboard Charlie, Juicy Finale, Dark Sheik, and Grizzly Cal Jack, which all four of these fine wrestlers actually competed in GCW, where Charlie did wrestle for GCW presents Jimmy Lloyd's D-Generation F, Joey Janela's Spring Break 4, Grizzly Cal Jack, which they misspelled his name, he only wrestled for the Josh Barnett Bloodsport. Dark Sheik did wrestle for Effie's Big Gay Brunch, and Juicy Finale, he actually flew all the way to Indiana just to help out being a ring crew, though. Like he volunteered. He asked them if they need any help, and they say yeah. So he did fly out, volunteer, and guess what? He earned his spot for being a helpful in-ring crew, and he has the opportunity to wrestle not just for the Joey Janela Spring Break 4, but also the Paradigm Pro Wrestling. So wanted to say congratulations to everybody in the Bay Area / North Cal wrestler for, you know, making North Cal on the map. So that's all that matters for this incredible weekend. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go with the collective results. So I only watched 3 shows. I did not watch the 2 shows as I promised because of like with work schedule, school, and everything has been going on in my personal life, which like I decided just to watch 3 matches each by day. So the 3 shows I actually watch is Friday, October 9th, GCW presents For the Culture. On Saturday, October 10th, Joey Janela Spring Break 4. And on Sunday, October 11th, Josh Barnett Bloodsport 4. So let's go ahead and kick off on Friday, October 9th. GCW presents For the Culture. I was very impressed with the show itself, especially like showcasing different African American wrestlers that some we heard, some we're not familiar with, that we are being introduced. And I was very blown away with the shows and especially the message for showcasing like these are the talented men and women. Like no matter what the skin color you are, they do matter no matter what. And I actually really enjoy it. So the opening of the match, they went right away once the show started. That's right, the five-way scramble match where Mike Outlaw defeated AC Mack, Mo Atlas, Timothy Lou Retton, and Zane Washington. And that was a pretty hot opening of the match. It was like a lot of like high-flying action mixed with a bit of a brawling to it. I absolutely loving it. And then we go to the next match where former WWE superstar JTG defeated Impact Wrestling star Trey Miguel in a really impressive showcase, especially with JTG, like with the different moves that he done. I think he actually improved quite well since he left WWE, especially facing with Trey Miguel, who is like the feature of wrestling, especially with his cruiserweight in-ring ability too. I was very blown away. So the finisher JTG used was called the Brooklyn's Edge. That's where he pinned Trey and won the match. And then you have is the three-way tag team match where the team of 40 Acres consists of PB Smooth and Trey Lamar defeated the team of Culture Season consists of Kristen Casanova and Impact Wrestling star Tasha Steele, and the team of Top Flight consists of Airwolf and Angel Dorado. And it was a pretty decent three-way tag team match. Now I know why with Tasha Steele I'm becoming more of a bigger fan than her because like she fits perfectly in the tag team criteria too. Like we've seen her tagging with Kiera Hogan in Impact Wrestling. She's now tagging with Christian Casanova as Culture Season in the Indies. And I was very impressed by it too, and especially with all the competitors alike too. So yeah. And then you move on to the Pan-African World Dystopia Wrestling Championship match where Trisha Adora defeated Shugdi, which you may know him as Pineapple Pete on AEW Dark and past episode of AEW Dynamite, where Trisha Adora did retain the title. And it was a pretty impressive match, especially a lot of like technical wrestling aspect, and we see like a different side of Shugdi, which it was incredible. And then you have is Calvin Tankman defeated O'Shea Edwards. Yeah, it was a hoss fight in the making, y'all. Like, no joke. And then the four-way match, Willow Nightingale defeated Devin Monroe, Faye Jackson, and current NWA star Marty Bell. I actually really enjoy this match, especially these competitors, which they call themselves the Divas, which I was very blown away. And then you have Faye Jackson coming out with PB Smooth and Christian Casanova coming out to Sunny's WWE theme song. Oh my god. It was so fun. I knew she pulled the trigger for coming out to I Know You Want Me. And then, of course, you have Marty Bell coming out to Faye Jackson's independent wrestling theme song, Khaleesi's Milkshake. I was like, oh my god. Is that like a shade to Faye Jackson? Like, to quote Lovely T here, honey. But overall, it was a really impressive showcase match. Like, I was surprised Willow Nightingale won this match. Like, I heard about her when she appeared on Ring of Honor as part of the Women's of Honor, like, years ago. And she is a very incredibly talented lady. So, again, congratulations to everybody involved in this match. And then next up you have is AJ Gray with Alexis Littlefoot defeated Impact Wrestling star Desmond Xavier. That was a pretty brutal match. But I wanted to commend Desmond for putting on to one hell of a fight, especially fighting against a big SOB himself, AJ Gray. But it was an impressive match. And then you have is Lee Moriarty defeated New Japan Pro Wrestling USA star ACH. That, my friend, is match of the night. Both of them set the bar very high, especially showcasing their in-ring ability with a lot of like the high-flying action mixed with like some offensive moves. I love it, you guys. And then your main event match where you have AR Fox defeated WCW legend Too Cold Scorpio. And it was a pretty decent main event match. I actually really enjoy this, especially Too Cold Scorpio still got scotted, you guys, and it shows that like no matter what the main event match is, like these both competitors put up into a really solid fight. So again, congratulations to all the winners for the Cultures match. I'm looking forward to what's going to be in store for the Culture, even though don't know when the pandemic is going to end, but we'll see, you guys. Alrighty, so we're going to be moving on to Saturday, October 10th. GCW presents Joey Janela's Spring Break 4, and I think that was the funnest event that I ever watched. However, there has been some mixed reaction, and I want to go into one of the matches that has some mixed reaction to it in a bit. So, yeah. Anyway, so the show kicked things off with, of course, 44OH, of course, aka 44O Bags, which is Ricochet Page, the current GCW Heavyweight Champion, alongside Atticus Cogar, Eddie Only, Gregory Iron, and Eric Ryan, as Ricky they come at a promo talking crap about Nick Gage cannot be able to compete because he still has an injured ankle, and for the fact that like he cannot outbeat anyone. So he was issuing an open challenge, which is a non-title match. So out comes one of the independent wrestlers, which I forget his name. Ricky said no, send it back, and then out comes Danhausen. We were supposed to be getting Danhausen versus Page, but Ricky flat out refused it. He said he had his chance, he failed, go back. But he called out someone that needs a new challenger, and lo and behold, out comes this music that I forgot, and I know I'm gonna get like deemed of it, but music hits, and guess who's came out? AEW star, freshly squeezed, Orange Cassidy. Everybody, including yours truly, marked out. Like, holy crap, Orange Cassidy facing against one of GCW's most hated person alongside the most hated staples. Like, wow. So, the match was pretty impressive. For that, you have a lot of defense going on from Orange Cassidy per usual, and then Ricochet Page has his 44 hoe bags, like, you know, doing what they gotta do to make sure Ricky wins and all that. But then, of course, at the end, Orange Cassidy did defeat Ricochet Page, and I'm all for it. Alrighty, and then you have a tag team match where Iron Beast consists of KTB and Shea Mercer defeated the Rascals, Desmond Xavier and Zachary West. And that was a pretty decent match. I mean, not much to say. You have a mixture of cruiserweight meets kind of like a brawling technical wrestler. It was awesome. And then you have is Jonathan Gresham from Ring of Honor defeated Lee Moriarty. And that was a pretty awesome like match, especially like mostly a very good technical match. I love it. And then you have a 6-man tag team match where the team of Team Pazuzu consists of Chris Dickinson and AEW star Santana and Ortiz defeated the team of Next Gen, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling USA star Blake Christian and Alex Zane alongside Jordan Oliver. And that was a pretty fun match too. And kudos to everybody, including Next Gen, for putting up one hell of a fight, too. And it was a good reunion between Dickinson, Santana, and Ortiz, too, since now that Ortiz and Santana are now with AEW. But, yeah. Tony Deppen defeated Impact Wrestling star Alex Shelley. Well, the match was pretty good, but I feel it's like a bit slow-paced and a bit longer than expected. But I guess it was alright. I'm just saying, though. Former WWE superstar Leo Rush defeated ACH, and that, my friend, match of the night. I was very blown away with the chemistry between ACH and Leo Rush altogether, especially Leo Rush's high, cruiserweight ability. So at the end, Leo Rush did apply the man of the hour and then pin ACH. I love it. And then you have is WWE Hall of Famer, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton defeated AEW star Joey Janela. That was a pretty crazy match. I mean, Joey Janela was trying to like put Ricky Morton through the table, and of course he hit him through like the turnbuckle pole, and yes, Ricky Morton did bust it open, blood all over his face, but it was a pretty all-out brutal match. But I don't know how Ricky Morton handled it, especially someone for his age. That was pretty impressive. And at the end, that's where Ricky Morton applied the Canadian Destroyer to Joey Janela through the door table. Yeah, y'all. It was freaking crazy. And then the next match you have is the match that has been widely criticized because, number one, the match was so freaking long. And I feel that there's some of the participants that, like, should not be in this match. It should, like, because of the runtime, plus they have to like, move to the next show that was supposed to be closing out the Saturday night GCW Collective event. That is, for PG purposes, the Cluster Truck Battle Royal. And here are the participants. Nate Webb, One Call Manners, AJ Gray, Alley Cat. All four guys of 44 OH. Atticus Kogar, Eddie Only, Gregor Irons, and Eric Ryan. Yeah. Billy Stark, Combat Man Dan, Calvin Takeman, Cassandro Exotico, Charlie Tiger, Cole Roderick, Violence is Forever, which is Dominic Guarini and Kevin Koo, Dustin Thomas, that's right, the wrestler that is bottomless. He did an impressive job. Dylan McKay, Effie, Elena Black, which you've seen her on AEW Dark this past week, Elias Taylor, Flash Flanagan, Frank the Clown, who is dating Noelle Foley, Griffin McCoy, Jimmy Lloyd, Jody Thread, hey, John Thor, JTG, Bay Area's own Juicy Finale, Carrie Awful, the son of one half of the Rock and Roll Express, that's right, Kerry Morton, and he did a really awesome job. Cody Lang, Cousin Kung Fu, Donnie Janela, the Walmart Boys, y'all, Tahir Two-Time, and Lord Adrian, which, cheap plugs, by the way, make sure to check out the recent video or recent episode where Philip did interview one half of the Walmart Boys, Lord Adrian. It was a really dope interview, and I was very blown away learning more about who he is, what are the Walmart Boys is all about, and everything. So that was really dope. And thank you for the shout out, Philip. Really appreciate it. And Lord Adrian, or Lord A, I like to call him for short. I like your music. It was pretty dope. But anyway, Levi Everett, the Stunt Brothers, yeah. Mance Warner, Matthew Justice, Nasty Leroy. Hey, Leroy, let's do Instagram Live sometime, especially for your show, Nasty After Dark. We could talk about anything in particular, too. I'm down. Nick Iggy, Pero, Robert Anthony, which you've seen him in past independent wrestling shows. Mainly, he made his not debut, but he was appearing on AEW Dark during the summertime, especially his match against Jon Moxley. All right. Impact Wrestling's legend, Shark Boy, Solo Darling, Barry's own Starboy Charlie. Yay! Steve Sanders, Sugar Duggington, that's actually Shug D / Pineapple Pete. The Invisible Man, yeah, he's back. Thunder Kitty, Willow Nightingale, and Yoshihiko. That's right, that dummy from DDT Pro, yo. Yeah, it was kind of like a cluster truck of a match. It's like, I don't know how they pull it off all once, but there's some fun moments. There's some, especially the Walmart Boys. I mean, they did face up against Jimmy Lloyd and I think Mance Warner. I could correct me if I'm wrong, but they were fighting against each other. It was pretty, like, funny as hell. Starboy Charlie, hey, facing against Alley Cat. That was pretty awesome. And I think he also faces Billy Starks too. That was cool moment ever. I mean, so many possibility. Juicy Finale. That wrestler paid his dues for helping out and be the volunteer to be the ring crew, and he got his opportunity, especially his face-off against Calvin Takeman. Like, oh my god, that was like so freaking brutal. And then at the end, it comes down to Spider Nate Webb and Atticus Cogar of 44OH, where Nate Webb did apply his finisher and pinned Atticus Cogar, and he won the Cluster Truck Battle Royal. So congratulations, Nate Webb, for this. And yeah, y'all, it was fun, but it was pretty much too long, especially they were supposed to be doing like a main event match and plus the show after. But I heard like the show after GCW, they went like a little longer and then just like start right away. And then for your main event match, you have is a death match, which is aka Matt Tremon's final GCW appearance because he is set to retire after being in the wrestling industry for 15 plus years. And all in all, that death match was really freaking brutal. You have a lot of chairs, you have a lot of tables, door tables, and most of all, the light tubes. The light tubes that is like right all around the ring to replace the ring rope. Light tubes, like bundles. It was so crazy, and both guys were like bleeding to hell. And unfortunately, Alex Colon with Marcus Crane defeated Matt Tremont. So yeah, y'all. But it was one hell of a match altogether, and I'm glad that Matt Tremont did give his short farewell speech, and he actually dedicated this match to the late Danny Havoc, who tragically passed away a couple months ago as well. So Matt Tremont, thank you so much for everything you've done in the industry, especially for deathmatch wrestling and like. Wishing you nothing but a best and happy retirement. Alright? Anyway, you guys, let's go ahead and move on to Sunday, October 11th, 2020. GCW presents Josh Barnett, Bloodsport 4. Guys, this is a very different like wrestling event that I've seen on TV. Like, this is kind of like MMA meets like a extreme technical wrestling, and the only way to win is either submission or by knockout, or I guess by referee's decision or something. But yeah, it was pretty brutal. And then you have it's like the women's tournament, like the first, well, you could say the semifinal and then the final. It was pretty awesome too. So anyway, let's go ahead and run down to the match. So Simon Grimm, former W superstar himself, Simon Grimm, formerly known as Simon Gotch, defeated Matt Mikowski. And that was a pretty solid match, especially seeing the different side of Simon Grimm. And then to the women's tournament semifinal match where NWA star Allison Kay defeated former NXT UK star Killer Kelly. And that was a pretty impressive match too. I was hoping for Killer Kelly to be Allison Kay, but fortunately with Allison Kay like doing that submission hold to Killer Kelly, that's where she advances. Like, great. I really don't want her to win this tournament. That's just me. Anyway, you have is Lindsay Snow defeated Layla Hirsch, and that was a pretty quick match. So that match was 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Like, wow. But then again, it's like we're going to be seeing a rematch of Allison Kay and Lindsay Snow, which I'll get into at the moment for like the women's tournament final match itself. Yeah. Calvin Tankman defeated Alexander James by KO. Yeah, it was a pretty brutal encounter for both guys. So yeah, I was like, shoot. Eric Hammer defeated North Cal's own Grizzly Cal Jack. Like, that was a really impressive match, and especially for Cal Jackson, even though he did lost, but he did one hell of a job. Like, I was impressed. Filthy Tom Lawler defeated former Impact Wrestling star and former NWA star Homicide. That was an awesome match. I was surprised that Tom Lawler defeated Homicide via submission, but it was a pretty decent match. I enjoyed. And then you have his former WWE superstar and former New Japan Pro Wrestling star Davey Boy Smith Jr. defeated current Impact Wrestling star Josh Alexander, and that was a pretty decent match. Like, I expected a little more to it, but it's all good. I mean, Davey Boy Smith, who is known for his collegiate style of wrestling, that was pretty impressive. And then moving on to the women's tournament final match, Lindsay Snow defeated Allison Kay via submission, and I was loving every minute of it, you guys. I was like, both ladies, especially Allison Kay, she actually changed her ring gear too. Both ladies did an impressive job. But besides them, but also Layla Hirsch and Killer Kelly putting out a really outstanding performance, especially making a name for themselves in women's wrestling. And then for your main event match, which is my match of the night, AEW star Jon Moxley defeated Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. And that was a pretty brutal match itself, too, especially in a different caliber. Jon Moxley, of course, he did wear his New Japan Pro Wrestling ring gear. Yeah. And then, like, there was, like, a lot of, like, back and forth, like, knockout punches and whatnot. It was an awesome match. And then afterwards, Jon Moxley did cut a promo saying, like, he loves independent wrestling. He wanted it back unless people need to protect themselves during the pandemic. So we got a public PSA from Jon Moxley himself. So, yeah. Anyway, you guys, so that is it for the recap for the GCW Collective. And you guys can check out that and the rest of the Collective shows on Fight TV, y'all. Anyway, you guys, before I get into the recap for New Japan Pro Wrestling Star, we're going to be taking a quick commercial break and we're going to be hearing from Brandon of Curveballs and Chair Shots.
What's up, everyone? It's Brandon. If you love sports and wrestling like I do, then check out my other podcast, Curveballs and Chair Shots. Every Friday, me and my illustrious co-host Dominic Hobson talk the biggest news from the MLB, NFL, NBA, and so much more. We also cover some things we don't talk about here on the Bulletcast, including a weekly NXT recap. You can listen to Curveballs and Chair Shots wherever you get your podcast. Just simply search Curveballs and Chair Shots. Now let's get back to the show.
All right, guys, and we are back. So, since I am recording on a Friday night, I figured to give you guys a double dose of New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, like from last week's Lions Break Crown finale, and for this week's to kick off the New Japan Pro Wrestling's Never tour. So anyway, regarding with the G1 Climax, I am doing a coverage, like kind of like a give my thoughts and recap on Instagram Live alongside Noah Foster I did one for the A block and then the other one for the B block, and then the finale will be all on Instagram Live. So again, make sure to follow me on Instagram, simply_C_OK. So let's go ahead and kick things off with the first match from last week on Friday, October 9th. The opening match you have is a 6-man tag team match, which you have as a team of Fred Roster, Adrian Quest, and Barry Brown versus the team of Mysterioso, Logan Regal, and Blake Christian. I was very blown away from this opening of the match. A lot of like high-flying caliber, a lot of like back and forth action. You have is Barry Brown doing the wheelbarrow, transition to a caliber crush to Logan Regal. You have is Blake Christian with the apron enziguri. Then Fred Roster, like, holy crap, Fred Roster, he is one tough dude, especially with the knife's edge. Adrian Quest with the tope suicida, and then the enziguri, and then Logan Regal, Irish whip, like, wow, all these guys are so, like, incredibly talented, especially with Fred Roster. He improved so much since his time in WWE, even though he's getting there to just like to being the most improved, but it actually sets it all. And then at the end you have is Blake Christian did apply the standing Spanish fly, and then he did use the Ella finisher to Bear Brown to pick up the victory. So I was impressed with this match all in one bed. So yeah, and then next up you have the Lions Break Crown finale, where you have is Clark Connors versus Danny Limelight. And I was pretty impressed with this match, especially you have Danny Limelight showing his aggressive side to Clark Connors. And it seems starting off with slow, but then it's starting off with like how it picked up. So you have is Danny Limelight with a step at enziguri, Clark Connors with the power slam, a lot of chops exchanges, and it's like a lot of like more interference a little bit, but then too much of like this whole submission, like technical hold too. And at the end, Clark Connors did apply the spear, the flying spears, and then he did the Boston Crab, and that's where Clark Connors won the Lions Break Crown finale. I know that it can be a bit predictable because that's like the majority of the people's pick, because he is the only participant out of the LA dojo out there. So he definitely deserved the W, and hopefully this is going to be like a start of like, his run with New Japan, maybe like graduating for the G1. I'm not G1, Botch, sorry. Hey, Matthew Bajamania. Hi, how are you doing? Start of representing the LA Dojo and possibly graduating soon, you guys. So congratulations, Clark Connors. And then moving on to the main event match, you have is the New Japan Strong um, main event match, which is the 12-man tag team elimination match, which you have is the team of Bullet Club, Kenta, Jay White, Tamatanga, Tamagloga, Chase Owens, and Hikuleo versus the team of David Finlay, Jeff Cobb, Rocky Romero, TJP, ACH, and our favorite, Carl Fredericks. That match itself was pretty good overall. There was a lot of interference within Bullet Club, the usual, especially I know that Jay White, Carl Frederick, and Rocky Romero, they got eliminated earlier onto the match, especially the rest, and then it lead down to Hikuleo, ACA, Jeff Cobb, Kenta, Chase Owens, and all of these competitors. They brought in more of this whole this whole defensive sides to them too, and especially some trick Hikuleo did clothesline Rocky Romero over the top row after he done the double vertical suplex, which is really impressive. And of course, Hikuleo did eliminate TJP with a big boot after this whole head scissor takeover. It was incredible. And so, of course, Hikuleo got eliminated by Dave Finlay. And then, all in all, tours, at the end, Kenta accidentally kicked Owens off the apron after, Dave Finlay did, duck down. And then that's where Finlay applies the stunner, and then he did launches Kenta over the top, and that's where Dave Finlay standing strong on top and pick up the victory. So team of David Finlay, Jeff Cobb, Rocky Romero, TJP, ACH, and Carl Frederick won the match. So overall, I was impressed with last week's show. It was better than the show they had 2 weeks ago, which me and Noah did cover that it was not their best, but they did improve for it. So for my thumbs up, thumbs down, I'm giving it a 1.5 thumbs up. I was really blown away with this presentation altogether, and the results for the Lions Break Crown final. So yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to, of course, Friday, October 16th. We are now on track. So New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong did kick off with New Japan Pro Wrestling's Never. So opening of the match you have is Mysterioso versus Danny Limelight. Match ends in 6 minutes and 10 seconds. That match is mostly Mysterioso being the aggressive luchador he is with Danny Limelight. A lot of back and forth interference, but mostly Mysterioso was attacking the crap out of Danny Limelight within in the ring or outside of the ring altogether. But Danny Limelight, he actually put up his best fight. I mean, he did try head scissors to Mysterioso and then apply a double knee and then followed by a spinning heel kick for 2 counts. But then at the end, Mysterioso did use the MSO backstabber, and that's where he picked up the victory, y'all. And then the next match you have is Hikuleo versus TJP, which Hikuleo is coming out to Gorilla's Tactic, which is GOD's old theme song before transitioning to their new theme song, my favorite, the Firing Squad. And yeah, y'all, so for those of you complaining I miss GOD's old theme, well, Hikuleo has that theme now, so I'm just saying, people. Yeah. Anyway, that was a pretty impressive match, especially with Hikuleo. I feel he is the MVP of the show, especially putting TJP in a clinic. Who would have expected? And of course, TJP does his usual impressive submission maneuver, as always, just from Impact Wrestling, which we finally get to see the different side, including with someone who is tall as Hikuleo, of course. So at the end, Hikuleo did the snap power slam followed by a gunslinger, and then he picked up the victory. So I was pretty impressed with this match altogether. And then you have the next match, which is PJ Black versus Alex Zane. That was the high caliber of a typical cruiserweight match that you guys are very will be in for a surprise. I know some people are not fans of modern wrestling, especially when it comes to the cruiserweight side of it, but it is the way it is wrestling is, it's starting to innovative as its own. And this is like a perfect example too. So you have PJ Black did a typical, like, somewhat of a style clash to pick up for a 2 count. Of course, Alexander with the Crunch Wrap Supreme, which is a sit-down powerbomb for a 2 count. And then PJ Black with an impressive moonsault for a 2 count. And then, of course, he did try to do the placebo effect, but Alexander did kick out, but he has no choice. But then he did the bad habit. 1, 2, 3. PJ Black pick up the victory, and that was a really impressive match. And then for your main event, you have is a tag team match between Bullet Club, consists of Kenta and Chase Owens versus Jeff Cobb and Dave Finlay. And you could tell that Jeff Cobb did grow his quarantine beard out prior to coming to Japan for the G1 Climax, and Kenta still has his quarantine fluffy haircut, of course. Fluffy hair. That quarantine hair, though, and that fresh briefcase before, that briefcase got damaged at the G1 Climax. But I digress. Yeah, so Kenta and Chase did the 2-sweet, and then they start brutally attacking both guys. So it's a lot of back and forth going on with Bullet Club and Team New Japan baby faces too. I mean, with Bullet Club, they know they've been working together, like Chase and Kenta. They showed their loyalty to one another. That's really impressive. So yeah, Dave Finlay did escape Kenta's GTS as he did a European uppercut. Chase Owens with a big knee and then an elbow drop for 2 counts. Of course, Jeff Cobb with the typical suplex to Chase Owens for a 2 count. All in all, Owens did give the big boot twice until Jeff Cobb did caught the big boot for the 3rd time. And then he did the Tour of the Island finisher and scored the victory for him and David Finlay. So that, my friend, is the main event of the night. I was very blown away. And the great kickoff for the New Japan Pro Wrestling Never Tour. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for next week, especially supposedly a main event match for the first time ever. Jay White versus Rocky Romero, y'all. So for thumbs up, thumbs down for this show, I'm actually going to be giving it an impressive 2 thumbs up. It was a great kickoff of the show. The matches were really stellar. A lot of innovative moves. Great chemistry for some of the competitors. And especially great storytelling, too. So we're going to be expecting a lot from them in the near future here in New Japan Pro Wrestling US of A. Alright, you guys, with that being said, we're going to be taking a quick commercial break, and we're going to be hearing from Philip of Chicle TV.
What's going on, guys? Philip here. Look, there are so many channels out there on YouTube that do pranks and challenges and funny videos like That Just Happened TV, Nelk, and Love Live Serve. But why don't you look up Chicle TV? Yes, Chicle TV, Chikle TV. It is a channel I started with my buddy Vinny a couple years ago, and we've done wrestling finishers in public. He's done eating challenges. We've done pranks to people. It's a whole lot of fun. When you go to YouTube, it is the thumbnail with the guy blowing the bubble. It says Chicle TV right in the bubble. And look, just sit down, relax, hop on YouTube, look up Chicle TV, and...
Ooh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Crack open a little bit of the bubbly. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Chicle TV. Like, share, subscribe. It is the freshest channel on YouTube.
Alright, you guys, and we are back, and we're going to be doing a recap for Impact Wrestling for Tuesday, October 13th. I feel the show itself, I feel like it's kind of like 85 to 90% like gimmick matches and unnecessary matches that we're not supposed to get, confusing to see at least. So anyway, let's go ahead and kick things off. So the opening segment you have is Moose arguing with Scott D'Amore about, looking for EC3 and why he wanted to do an extinction match in the first place. Scott D'Amore told Moose he needs help because he is busy about other stuff, especially about Rich Swan's condition. So, yeah, so once Scott D'Amore did walk out, that's where EC3 made the appearance on a big screen projector. And then he usually cut the promo. And of course, guess who he hold? A resurrected TNA World Heavyweight title. That is right. So he said you gotta find it and go from there. So, yeah, Moose was pissed, and then he walked off. And then, anyway, to kick off the show, you have is a three-way knockouts tag team match, which you have is Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary versus Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan versus Havoc and Nevaeh. So the match was 9 minutes and 25 seconds, and it was a pretty decent start of the match. I feel that like Taya, Rosemary, Havoc, and Nevaeh, they put most of the effort, while Kiera and Tasha were outside of the ring trash talking, saying period. And of course, Kiera Hogan did the infamous line, I ain't going back. You know, that she's still traumatized with the whole Rosemary, Allie, Sue Young situation. Yeah, and so they keep talking, and it's kind of like a bit of a distraction, like, you know, throughout the match. But I want to say this, these teams did an incredible job, especially with their tag team dynamics, too. So you have is Havoc did the suplex until Tasha Steelz sent her over, and then, of course, Rosemary had a surprise counter from Tasha, and that's where Tasha was about to do her usual signature move on the top rope, but she catches her and then did the follow-up slam for the 2 count. And then you have Tasha was about to do the Tope Suicida, but of course she stopped because she tricked everyone, you know, while everybody's outside of the ring. But Rosemary was the only one in the ring, and that's where she speared Tasha and then did the double underhook power finisher, and that's where her and Taya did pick up the victory. So it's a pretty impressive match, especially like all this team are like don't like each other because of course the main focus of this is just for a wedding of Rosemary and John E. Bravo, which is going to be taking place after Bound for Glory too. And then after what you have is an unnecessary segment between Johnny Bravo and then that half of the Russell House cast. Fall Ball lied to them about the role of Cash, and that's where Crazy Steve did call him out, and they have a match, of course, which we'll get into that in a moment. And then you have his Havoc and Rosemary segment where like Havoc knows that Rosemary wanted to summon Father James Mitchell after Havoc did kill him. It's some kind of like a weird storyline that happened like months ago, and so they both made a deal. So Havoc said that next week, Rosemary versus Havoc. If Rosemary wins, then Havoc can summon Father James Mitchell to officiate the wedding. If Rosemary loses, then she had to leave her and Nevaeh alone for good. So there's the match has been confirmed for next week. And then you have his Fallah Bahh versus Crazy Steve, which not much to say. That match is like so gimmicky as hell, especially like Crazy Steve trying to convince Fallah Bahh to take off the shirt, even though like Fallah Bahh still had that Raw, the cash she stole from Hernandez on the neck. So at the end, Crazy Steve sneakily ripped Fallah Bahh's shirt, did the roll up, 1, 2, 3. Yep, guilty as charged, Fallah Bahh. And then afterwards, you have is Heath and Rhino talking, and that's when Rhino break the news to Heath that he is now part of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match, which the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match will be taking place at Bound for Glory, will be a 20 participate men and women, and the winner get to get a title shot of any title shot in Impact Wrestling. So, and here's the catch, like, if Heath or Rhino wins, Heath gets to sign. If neither of them wins, then Heath is not going to get signed with Impact. It's kind of like confusing. So once Heath walked away, Scott D'Amore came by, you know, after the praises and stuff like that. And he said, does Heath know the other part? Rhino said, nope. So yeah. Anyway, you guys, the next match you have is a 10-person tag team match, which is all of the confirmed participate in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. So you have is Tennille Dashwood with Caleb Conley with the double K, y'all. Tommy Dreamer, Brian Myers, Johnny Swinger, and Cody Deaner versus a team of Hernandez, Jake Deaner, Alicia Edwards, Rhino, and Heath. So that was a pretty interesting match. I mean, not much to say. I mean, it's just kind of like an all over your place type of deal, especially like getting to know the following participants. You have is Tennille Dashwood and Alicia Edwards facing off first. And then, of course, once when Alicia Edwards did tag Hernandez, we get a first glimpse of Alicia Edwards' leashism, where she called Hernandez Hernandez. That's right. Think of hair, but instead of saying regular hair, is hard. Yes, hard. I was cracking my ass off with this. I'm sorry. It's hilarious. So, Alicia Edwards tagged Hernandez. And of course, like a face off between him and of course Tennille did tag Cody Deaner. So yeah, pretty much is like a lot of back and forth action for each team. Of course, people did break the ECW channel once Rhino tagged in. It's like, is it unnecessary to say? But it's like, kind of like, why is this match there in the first place? Like, is there a different purposes? But yeah. And at the end, you have, of course, Tennille is busy doing that photo shoot while Caleb with the camera phone during the match, like she was no help for it. But all in all, at the end, he did the wake-up call finisher to Johnny Swinger, and he won the match. So there you have it, folks. And it's going to be kind of like a bit predictable once they call your shot gauntlets match is going to happen. But we're going to get into that like next week when me and Noah Foster will be doing our predictions for Bound for Glory. Anyway, a backstage segment with Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards kind of like, talking amongst each other until Ken Shamrock sneakily attacked Eddie Edwards and continued to brutally assault him while Sami Callihan filmed him. So yeah, it's like a setup for their match at Bound for Glory, like Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock. But yeah, and then you have is a match, Kimberly with Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae. Match time was almost 10-minute match, and I was pretty impressed with the match, especially seeing the different side of Kylie Rae, you guys. Like, ever since what Deonna Purrazzo did to Susie at Victory Road 2 weeks ago, you could tell Kylie is really pedo. Like, she doesn't like how Kimberly was being, quote unquote, a bully to her, or like what they did to Susie. She actually set the bar high, and I really enjoy her aggressive side, you guys. So you have is Kimberly with a vertical suplex for a 2 count. Then Kylie Rae did the reverse submission from Kimberly's impressive like double lock ankle submission. And then with the counter with the crossbreaker submission until Kimberly escaped. Of course, Kylie with the Kylie special, which is the super kick for a 2 count. Until like Deonna, you saw Deonna was like teasing that she's going to interfere, but she didn't. She kind of teased it, you guys. Of course, Kimberly with a sit-down powerbomb for a 2 count, and that's where Deonna Purrazzo provided the distraction from the referee, as when Kylie saw Kimberly was doing a rolled-up, but then Kylie Rae counter, and she did an impressive crossbar hook submission, and that's where Kimberly tapped, and Kylie Rae won. Afterwards, Deonna Purrazzo started attacking her, and that's where Deonna and Kylie did attack each other until Kylie stands strong as Deonna escapes the ring. So I was impressed with this match. I enjoyed it. I think that's kind of like, kind of saves like, this whole like filler, unnecessary matches. It's like most of the time it's like a gimmicky match. So just saying. And then you have is Luke Gallows with Carl Anderson versus Madman Fulton with Ace Austin. I was expecting this match to be a brutal hoss fight as it seems. But after the Good Brothers cut a promo and then Madman Fulton and Ace Austin came out, that's when Gallows and Fulton did start brawling amongst each other. They were brawling in the ring, but then they went outside the ring and continued to fight until they have not noticed that there was a count. So the referee did declare a double count out, which they didn't pay attention. They just continued to fight. But right when back to commercial break, Josh Matthew did stated that he was informed by Impact Management that the match is still continue and they change it from a regular match to a no DQ match, free for all. Okay, cool. Yeah, that match was like pretty all over the place and it doesn't even make sense. I wish it would say, let's do a no DQ match to a main event. Because if you place them in a regular match, like people are not going to be drawing in to it altogether. So yeah, there has been a lot of weaponry going on. Like you have street sign, you have crunches, you have chairs. Like, oh my. Yeah, and so at the end, you have Gallows with the double-handed colossal slam to Fulton through the chair, like the rows of chairs. and pick up the victory. So that was a pretty decent hospital match, but I don't like the placement of how it turns out for the matches itself. And then we're going to go on to, of course, Eric Young's in-ring promo segment. He's waiting for the results for what is Rich Swann's medical status, if he's going to compete or not to compete at Bound for Glory. And shout out to my good brother, Nick Winston, because Eric Young is wearing one of Nick's design t-shirt. So proud of you, Nick. Find it at ProWrestlingTea.com under Eric Young, y'all. Just saying. Anyway, so Scott D'Amore came into the ring after he received a phone call from the doctors. And of course, he wasn't even pleased with EY's response and saying that he did added additional and substantial action. It's kind of like, those big words that we kind of like, yeah, we get it, he's injured, so what's going to be happening? So they have exchanges back and forth for it until he said the doctor said that at Bound for Glory, Rich Swann is ready to go and hope he will kick the sense and knock his smug on his face. So EY, pretty kind of a bit smug, and he started attacking Scott D'Amore. So grabbed the mic and say, "Look what you did to me," and then that's where he continued to attack Scott D'Amore. He was about to apply that brutal ankle lock until Rich Swann, 100% healthy and clear, started to attack EY. So they were attacking back and forth until Rich Swann did apply the cutter that sends EY flying out of the ring, and he was holding that Impact World Heavyweight Champion. So yeah, so that is the end of the segment, and then you have the last part. Of course, Moose drove to a bridge where EC3 was standing with the old TNA World Heavyweight title. They brawl out after exchange this whole metaphor about false idols and stuff. So they got into a fight, a lot of back and forth action. EC3 was busted open. Of course, a random music played. That is so hokey as hell. I don't know why you need music. That is doesn't even make no sense whatsoever for this storyline. So then afterwards, EC3 was unconscious. That's where Moose grabbed his TNA World Heavyweight Champion that it belongs to him and walked up. And then the camera zooms to EC3, all bloody and smiling at the end. And that's it, you guys. That's the whole recap of Impact Wrestling. Like I said, this show itself was kind of like a gimmick takeover because you have this unnecessary segment, matches that makes no sense whatsoever. The only matches that actually brought out was actually Kylie Ray versus Kimberly and the Knockouts Tag Team Triple Threat match. Even I spoke with Baby Huey of 1077 The Bone and in the Click that he felt that the show was also flat, and I definitely understand why too. It's you just need to have a solid build up for Glory just to take it more seriously, especially X Division. Where are the X Division people? come on now, just to hype up the match. So for my thumbs up, thumbs down grading for this, rating, I'm actually going to give it 2 thumbs middle, you guys. I expect a little more from Impact. I don't know what's going on with This Week in Wrestling, guys, but that's just me. And so the matches that has been announced for next week for Impact Wrestling, which is a couple days before Bound for Glory. You guys, Hernandez versus Cousin Jay versus Alicia Edwards versus Heath versus Rhino. And winner get to enter number 20, and the loser get to enter number 1 at the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. Then you have Eddie Edwards versus Sami Callihan. That's the build-up towards Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock at Bound for Glory. Then you have Rohit Raju, Jordan Grace, and Chris Bay versus Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, and TJP in a 6-person tag team match, which is a setup for their six-way scramble match for the X Division title at Bound for Glory. Then you have the North versus the Good Brothers, a preview to the Fatal 4-Way match at Bound for Glory for the World Tag Team titles, and then Havoc versus Rosary's match too. Anyway, guys, with that being said, that is it for the episode of Into the Stratusphere. So, if you want to send like feedback of how am I doing or comments in general and whatnot, send it a DM. So yeah, make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, my YouTube channel at simply_C_OK. That's SIMPLY_C_OK. And make sure to follow the Bulletcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also follow on all the podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor FM, Stitcher, and so on and so forth, you guys. So yeah, and like I said, next week I'm going to be bringing in my friend Noah Foster, which we're going to be talking about like Impact Wrestling and also New Japan Pro Wrestling, and also prediction for Bound for Glory, and also I'll make an announcement about like regarding the recap for Bound for Glory, which is going to be next Saturday. It's going to be a crazy week, you guys, and your girl is loving it. So anyway, you guys, with that being said, so please remember to wash your hands 20 to 30 seconds. Practice social distancing. Wear your face mask at all time or any type of face covering. No excuses. And please remember to please be kind to one another. We're all in this together. See you in the next episode. Cheers, y'all.
This has been the Bulletcast. Thank you for listening.